why do they have his legs so red? This is so messed up in so many ways. Yo, what's going on, guys? This is MMA guys. I'm back with the video. This is my recap video to UFC 329. We'll get to that fight in a second. I just dropped an instant recap to that fight, if you want to call it. It's up on my page now, but let's just get through these fights first because we do have a lot to discuss, especially in the main card. But Alessandro Costa picks up a huge sub. Who cares, right? Curtis Durden sucks. Ryan Garcia also picks up a huge win, and I did pick Zach Reese to win this fight. I thought he would perform a little bit better, but clearly I don't know what I'm talking about, and Zach Reese gets KO'd, which Ryan Garcia isn't just some dude, but I thought Zach Reese put up a little better fight than that. Anyway, moving up the card, we do have Farid Bashaw versus John Garza, and John Garza is tough as nails, man. You got to give credit where credit is due. Stepping in, fighting a ranked opponent, 16-0, undefeated opponent in Farid Bashaw. And John Garza had his moments. I mean, obviously he was going to get outclassed, right? And then, he's going to get taken down. But he held his own, man, and he's a dog, man. He'll walk forward, he'll eat shots, and he has a nice body shot. I'm really excited to see what they do with him in the UFC next. I hope they can kind of build him up a little bit because he's fun, he's exciting. He's young, and he's still grown. But, Farid did what he had to do. And that's what it is. I mean, I think you give Farid a ranked opponent next, but I think Patrick Ewing honestly would really give him problems, especially on the feet. Like, I think he would really give him legitimate problems. But Farid picks up a huge win, and we move on. Now, this is a fight that I feel like was tricky, right? Because we all recognize that Cesar Almeida is good, but he's also not. You know what I mean? It's like, he's really not good. I think him fighting Alex Pereira holds a lot of weight for him when it comes to the sport of MMA. We're like, oh my gosh, Cesar Almeida is kickboxer for Alex Pereira, da, da, da. But he's also not good. I mean, Damian Pinas, that's how you pronounce it, Pinas. I don't want to get banned. You know what I mean? I got to be real careful with how I pronounce this dude's name. That's his name. Damian Pinas. That's a crazy name. Gets a KO, right? And it seemed like he was gonna lose the fight. It seemed like he was on his way to losing the fight. It seems like he was on his way to getting pieced up. You know what I mean? And you could see Cesar Almeida landed more significant strikes. And it was a typical Cesar Almeida fight, a kickboxing fight. He'll land a punch, land a kick, wait, land a punch, land a kick, wait, move a little bit. But Damian Pinas has that explosive power, pause, where it just seemed like if he landed and if he connected with a clean shot, Cesar's probably going to go down. That's exactly what happened. Damian Pinas picks up a huge win. I hope they don't rush him too much. I mean, he does have a lot of power. He can be very, very exciting. I would like to see his wrestling tested, but who cares? He picks up a huge win against a highly touted kickboxer. And I'm excited to see where we go from here with Damian Pinas. Let's ignore that name. Anyway. Yo, ESPN is crazy. They make the fighter like she's a different color. And it's crazy because the commentary made it seem like Tracy Cortez wasn't getting absolutely mauled, and she was getting absolutely mauled. Like, she really had nothing for Wang Kong, except for maybe in the first round, maybe. She was doing something, maybe. But Wang Kong is just the better fighter. I mean, Tracy Cortez, she's not particularly good. And we all know why the UFC loves Tracy Cortez. We all know why the MMA world loves Tracy Cortez, right? But she's not particularly good. She's just simply not. And then Wang Kong is, like, also not particularly good, but she's better than Tracy Cortez, which this is what we get. This is the result. And they have fucking Tracy Cortez like a fucking cherry over here. This is so crazy how they be doing these fighters like this on ESPN. But Wang Kong picks up a win. Who cares, really? Let's just move on. I mean, I don't... Now, okay, a real fight. Luke Riley versus Kai Kamaka III. Now, I literally predicted it mid-fight, live. I was like, if Luke can land string some punches together, that right hand is going to land clean. He's going to hurt Kai Kamaka. 2 seconds later, I literally made a whole clip about it. It's on TikTok now. Go check that out. He basically knocks him out. Now, the stoppage was early. It was early. It was early. It was early. There's no way around it. It was an early stoppage. But at the same time, like, the ref is supposed to stop the fighter from taking more unnecessary damage. Luke Riley would have just honestly started teeing off and probably would have put him out cold. Which, if you're kind of Luke Riley, you kind of want to get that highlight finish, right? You want to add that to your collection. But it was an early stoppage, but at the same time, like, Kai was on his way out. I mean, he got hurt bad. Like, wobbly, stumbling, turned away. Yes, he was defending, but it would have got worse. So Luke Riley picks up a huge win. He's 14, I think now 3-0 in the UFC. And this guy, Luke Riley, can make a lot of noise. A lot of noise, you know what I mean? Like, he's darn good. he's darn good, and his striking is so good. And I think if his takedown defense could hold up, and his takedown defense can get better, especially off of the cage in the middle of the ground, getting up all that stuff, he can really beat some high level guys. And maybe we can see him contending for a championship, in a couple of years, But Luke Riley, man, he's a stud, man. He kind of has the tools, you know what I mean? He has the accent, he has the swagger. He's a striker. He hits hard, and he's 14-0, man. I think he's very, 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 very good. So I'm excited to see what the UFC does with him next. But we move up the card because I have a lot to say on this main card. We got to get through these fights. Before this fight, I was like, Cody, this has got to be it. I mean, either win or lose, this has got to be it. And he goes out there and gets absolutely starched, put on a TikTok edit, highlight reel, brutally KO'd by Adrian Yanez, who at one point was like the truth. Like, we were talking about Adrian Yanez to beat top level guys, like really make a push for the top 5, top 3, and it kind of never really unfolded like that. He lost to Rob Font, I believe, but he gets a highlight reel KO against Cody Garbrandt, and who hasn't at this stage in the career, really? I mean, he's 15-8, but literally for 2 minutes, Cody Garbrandt was like the best fighter of all time. When he was fighting Dominic Cruz, he was like the best fighter we've ever seen in that span of like 2 minutes and 18 seconds. It was incredible. But in the downfall, it really just sucks, man. I'm happy that he did take off the gloves after that. I mean, at a certain point, you gotta know when, and it's kind of been that for a while for Cody Garbrandt. I mean, he should have retired maybe 2 fights ago. He had like a weird win in there, which who cares? Who remembers that? But he really should have retired like 2-3 fights ago. So I'm happy that he was able to take off the gloves. But if you're Adrian Yanez, you go in there and you do what you have to do. You handle business. You pick up a knockout against a guy who shouldn't have been in there, but it's not your job. Your job is to go in there and win in spectacular fashion. And that's what he did. So happy for Adrian Yanez. Happy for Cody Garbrandt in the sense that he finally walks away. And it's been a hell of a career. I mean, former champion. What else you need to say? But moving up the card, we do have Gable Stevenson versus Elijah Ellison. And boys, I think he might be a problem. I know this is his first fight. I know he still has a lot of work to do. But we have to remember this is the heavyweight division, right? This is not a division where you kind of have to work your way up. You win 2 fights in the heavyweight division, back-to-back KOs, you're automatically a top 8 ranked fighter in the heavyweight division. Like, it happens like that. Gable Stevenson has all the tools. His wrestling didn't look as dominant. I guess he didn't really have to wrestle. I guess he was looking for the knockout, which is understandable. But his wrestling, especially against the fence, might be kind of troublesome, but I think working with John Jones will definitely help him out. And you can definitely also see that John Jones influence for real. I mean, the teeps to the body are going to be really, really big for him in his career. And also his clinch work. You can see the clinch work and his work with John Jones, the knees in the clinch, the teeps to the body, the elbows in the clinch. And he has pretty good striking. And then we do know, like I said, the wrestling background is there. And I do think working with John Jones is also just going to make him so much better. So much better. And like I said, it's the heavyweight division, man. You pick up 2-3 wins in a row, now you're looking at a top 5, top 4 elimination title bout, especially if it's in spectacular fashion. So Gable Stevenson does what he has to do. Elijah Ellison honestly didn't even look bad. That's the crazy part. It's like Elijah Ellison obviously isn't good, but he didn't look like too bad, right? I mean, Gable Stevenson did what he had to do. So picks up a huge win. I literally was calling for it live watching the fight. Like, give him top 5. Now, I think it's obviously they got to slow down a little bit. I think he should fight Curtis Blades next. Maybe. I did see, that Curtis Blades is fighting, who is Curtis Blades fighting? I think he's fighting Waldo. So, maybe he gets the loser of that. So we'll see. But Gable Stevenson picks up a huge win. I'm excited to see how much better he gets too. And also I'm excited to see how his grappling translates going forward in his career. So huge win for Gable Stevenson. We move on. We do have Nikita Krylov versus Robert Whittaker. And man, I'm happy for Robert Whittaker, man. I'm a huge Israel Adesanya fan. Been a huge Adesanya fan my whole life. And I've never hated Robert Whittaker. I've always just like Alistair, I've never hated Alistair. I've always rooted for their success. So this makes me really happy. It makes me really, really happy. He did come in there looking a little chubby. They were talking about it on the commentary, like, Robert Whittaker looks a little puffy. You know what I mean? But I guess he didn't really have to cut much weight. He was probably, didn't want to get grappled, even though Nikita Krylov is not gonna really grapple him. But his cardio is always gonna be there. Robert Whittaker is always gonna be usually the faster fighter, unless he's fighting a guy like a prime Adesanya, right? Usually gonna be the faster fighter. Usually gonna be a little bit more technical, and have more of an array of arsenal on the feet, and that's what we showed tonight. I mean, Robert Whittaker has always been good. He'll always be good. Nikita Krylov, like at this stage of his career, my nose is messed up. At this stage in his career, isn't like a world beater, But it's not just some dude you could just walk through like that. And it did take a round it did take 2 rounds for Robert Whitaker to kind of find that range and do damage. But I think he hurt Nikita Krylov early in the first or mid first round. I think he hurt his nose or his jaw or both or something like that. And then obviously in the 3rd round he puts him away. And I think he legitimately did break his jaw in the 3rd round. But I'm just happy for Robert, man, going up a weight class. He said this is his home at light heavyweight. I'm excited to see who they give him next. Maybe Ryan Spann. Even though I think Ryan Spann is, I don't know if Ryan Spann is ranked above or below Nick. I'm not too sure. But I'm sure they're going to keep pushing him. I don't know if he'll ever be champion in this division. But, I mean, this division is kind of weird. I mean, you have Yuri. You have Carlos Ulberg, who's going to be out for a while. I mean, Jamal Hill moved up to heavyweight. So, this division is kind of wide open. It kind of needs, like, a fighter to really make some noise. I think Robert Whitaker can definitely be that fighter in this division. But we move up the card. We go to... Oh, my God. Yo. Whoever put money on this fight going past a round, that's a donation. That's simply a donation. Now, was it almost going to go past the first round? Yeah. But we all knew, boys, that this fight was going to be a show from the start to finish. We knew this fight, someone was going to sleep. And for a while, it looked like Terrence McKinney would actually maybe pull off a submission. But Bobby Green surprisingly has like really, well, he actually, I know he has a wrestling background, but he has really good submission defense at this stage in his career. I mean, he never really just wilts like that, even though like Islam was able to kind of maul him and find a finish that way, do ground and pound. But like he has really good submission defense. Like it's actually like kind of surprising. Like I said, I know he has a wrestling background. I know he's a mixed martial artist. But like anytime he gets into a submission, it's like like he'll defend it, he'll survive, whatever. And that's what I think Terrence McKinney wasn't expecting, was for Bobby Green to kind of survive the way that he did. And then, after that, Bobby Green will really put on you. Once he smells blood, once he can sense a finish, Bobby Green will hunt that finish. It doesn't matter who you are, he'll hunt that finish. And Bobby Green picks up a huge win, man. I mean, I did pick Bobby Green by KO. I didn't think it would happen like that. I mean, for a while, it looked like Bobby Green was going to get smoked. I mean, he broke his nose maybe, or he definitely got bloodied. Because Terrence McKinney is a fast, explosive fighter in like the first 2-3 minutes. But I think we all know by now, if you can weather that Terrence McKinney storm in the first couple minutes, you could definitely pick up a win, whether it's by submission or knockout yourself. So Bobby Green goes in there, picks up a huge win, spits all over everyone, the ref, with that water stuff that he does, which looks cool, but I can imagine that's nasty if you're like the ref. That I can imagine like you don't really want to be there. But Bobby Green is really a dog, man, and he's such a dog. He got the custom shorts. Like, that should tell you everything you need to know about Bobby Green and what he does inside the octagon. So Bobby Green picks up a huge win. We move on. Yo, I'm kind of sick, man. Not at the result, not at Brandon Royval or Lona Kavanaugh, but because Brandon Reynolds really washed, isn't he? That's all this fight told me, was that Brandon Reynolds actually truly washed. And that's heartbreaking, because I've been watching UFC for a long time. I've kind of watched Brandon Reynolds' career unfold. And the highs are so high, but the lows lately in his last 3-4 fights have just been so tough. Because he's still competitive, but you can see he's a step slower. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that Lona Kavanaugh was never good. I'm not going to sit here and say that. But Brandon Royval is still that guy. He's still a guy that fighters are going to have to go in there and fight and beat. You can't just walk into a Brandon Royval and just expect to beat him because of his record, because he's who he's lost to, because of him getting knocked out. You got to go in there and actually beat him. And I don't want to make assumptions, but the lights might have been too bright for Lona Kavanaugh this time. I mean, I guess he fighting Brandon Reynolds short notice, so he didn't really have like much time to really think about it. He just had to go in there and win a fight. Like I said, Brandon Reynolds is a step behind these days, but the lights might have been too bright for Lona Kavanaugh. And Brandon Royval will capitalize on that. He'll overwhelm you with strikes, and he's durable, and he kind of hits hard, and he kind of does a little bit of everything right, to the point where he just overwhelmed him. And I think that's what happened, especially in the 3rd round. He just overwhelmed him, and then he was able to pick up submission victory against Lona Kavanaugh. And I think this is good for Lona Kavanaugh. I think coming off that high, beating a guy like Brandon Moreno, a legend like Brandon Moreno, you kind of have to go through these losses to recoup, realize you have to work on, and then come back strong. And then for Brandon Royval, I mean, he's always going to be in that top 5, I feel like, for like the next 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, he does everything so well, and it's like you got, like I said, you have to go in there and you have to like put him out cold, or you have to like convincingly beat him, right? And Brandon Royval is just not a easy guy to do that too. So he picks up a huge sub. Lona will be back. Huge win for Brandon. We move on. I don't even want to. Oh. You know me personally, and you follow me on Instagram and all this stuff. You know how much Corey Sandhagen means to me. I've been watching Corey Sandhagen fight on the regional scene in Colorado since even before he was in UFC. I turned to a random MMA stream years ago, and I saw this skinny, scrawny white dude just flatline KO someone, and I was like, who the? It was Corey Sandhagen. I've been a fan ever since. I'm gonna make a whole video about Corey Sandhagen and his, I guess, rise and fall. Honestly, I think he's what 1-4 in his last 1-3 in his last 4. I'm gonna make a whole video about it, and I'm not mad at Mario Batista, who's really good, and I'll talk about him in a second. But this one hurts because you could feel. I mean, the window was kind of already closed for Corey Sandhagen, and like I said, I'm not gonna talk too much about Corey because I'm gonna make a whole video about it literally right after I record this recap. But the window, you felt like with this fight, the window was maybe still open for him to kind of make a push for the title. Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm the biggest Corey Sandhagen fan ever, but he's a solidified gatekeeper now. And I still believe that he could be champion one day. In saying that, I really do. I really still do believe he could be champion one day. But the window is getting, it's as small as it'll ever be for Corey Sandhagen. And it just sucks, man, because I think he was doing well. And then the end of the first round, Mario Batista has his leg basically ripped out of his socket. And Mario Batista did the damage. And I think he might have won the round like that. And watching in real time, I'm biased towards Corey, and I'm like, nah, he won the round. But watching it back early this morning, I realized that, okay, you know what? I can see how Mario Batista would get a unanimous decision and win the first round. He clearly won the third. Obviously, he hurt Corey. And it sucks, too, because seeing Corey get hurt now, too, with punches is like, that's a sign that a fighter's pushing past their prime, getting old and stuff like that. Because there was a time where Corey Sandhagen would walk through everything and do some violent, spinning, crazy shit, and it was so violent and aggressive. And now I feel like he's almost too technical. I'm gonna make a whole video about it. But man, if you know me, you know how tough this loss is for me as a true like Corey Sandhagen, like one of my favorite athletes ever, not just in UFC, one of my favorite athletes ever. I went to like one of his meet and greet, like. It just hurts, man. And for Mario Batista, not the biggest win of your career, I guess, because it really pushes you into that next in line, right? I mean, you did lose to Umar, but you know you're right back on track with the win, and you get your lick back. I mean, this is a guy who did beat you, who brutalized you a couple years ago, and you know you're Mario Batista. I mean, he's good. He's getting better. You know, he's actually really getting better. But I'm just so sick for Corey, man. So like I said, I'm gonna make a whole Corey Sandhagen video. About his career and where it is now as a true Corey Sandhagen fan that's watched every one of his fights since even before the UFC. So it just sucks, man. But you know, if you're Mario Batista, you pick up a huge win and you do what you got to do, man. But man, I'm sick. Anyways, let's move on to the real main event of the evening. Literally, because you know we all know what happened with the Conor fight. But I literally said, I was like, Paddy's the underdog. How? What's Benoit's way to win? I really could not see a path to victory for Benoit. I mean, he wasn't going to sub him. He wasn't going to TKO him. You know, I think Paddy would have did enough damage or control time or submission attempts, which we'll get into, to win the fight on points. I mean, I just did not see a path for Benoit to win. And I think Benoit Saint Denis, like, he's not really good. I think time is really showing that he's not really good. He's not super technical. He has heart. He definitely has heart, and he has relentless pressure. But that's about it. That's about it. I mean, he's not really good. I think after that Renato fight, just mauled him. You know what I mean? Then he knocked out Dariush, but who hasn't? You know what I mean? And Paddy LaPimble is a legitimate title contender. Like, he legitimately might hold the belt within the next year or so. Like, legitimately. Like, he actually might be a champion in the next year. So, Benoit isn't good. And I don't want to take away from Paddy. Like, I did pick Paddy, and I do like Paddy. I don't want to take away from his win. But what is Benoit thinking? I mean, these fighters are so dumb. And I made a whole clip about this a while ago. And I was just like, UFC fighters sometimes are so stupid. And I feel like the majority of them are so stupid. Like, you know, Paddy Pimblett's ground game and his guillotines and his darces are fantastic. So why are you shooting head on the outside and then pushing your head into a choke? And then it was too late, because once Paddy Pimblett gets it wrapped up, it's game over. It lights out. You know what I mean? And shout out to Benoit for not tapping. He's a real dog. But, I mean, that was pretty much what I expected to happen. I was like, Benoit's going to shoot, realize he's going to get caught in something, probably get out of it, and then get caught in it again. But he just got caught the first time. And it's like Paddy Pimblett's like an anaconda. I mean, his ground game is somehow underrated. I feel like when fighters fight him, they don't realize how good of a ground game he has, which is crazy. And that Justin Gaethje win that he has over Paddy Pimblett is just going to keep aging and aging. Man, Justin Gaethje, his resume is just going to keep getting better and better as time goes on. But, I mean, shout out to Paddy Pimblett, man. I mean, and he said in his post fight interview, he was like, "Now I'm the new face of the UFC. You know, now it's me." And it really is true. I mean, you do have the Illies of the world still. You know what I mean? You do have the Sean O'Malley's of the world still and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But Paddy Pimblett is really that guy. I mean, the fans love him. He has such a huge following, and he's electric. He's fun, and his fighting style is so fun to watch because he's kind of courage on the feet, not too technical, but he has some technicality to the point where he finds knockouts and he can hurt people. But his ground game is such a beauty to watch, especially when he's rolling and flowing through submissions. Is absolutely incredible. So Paddy Pimblett picks up a huge win in the main event of UFC 329, and I'm excited to see what they do with Paddy next. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can run it back with Justin, but if you're Justin, like, do you really want that? I mean, I think Justin Gaethje is now really going to try to capitalize financially off of him being the literal champion. So we'll see. But if you're Paddy Pimblett, I mean, you might have to wait for a title shot. You know, I mean, do you fight a guy like Armin? I don't even think Armin would want to accept that fight. And I think Paddy Pimblett would low-key beat Armin, but that's a whole conversation another day. But if you're Benoit, you go back to the drawing board. I think you just keep fighting until you realize that, like, you can never really be top level. And I feel like Benoit believes he can be top level, but I don't think he ever will be, and actually is. So it is what it is. Anyway, we move up the card to the what was that? To the paid money to go see this fight. I'm so sorry. Obviously, it was a freak accident, and like I said, I made a whole video about this. It's currently up on my page, like giving my instant breakdown and reaction to this fight. But it sucks to see it end that way. It really does, because I was at least expecting, like, at least a round, right? I mean, the walkout was cool, right? It didn't have that same energy for Conor walking out, and I don't know if that's just because he looked old and he had that goofy mohawk. I think the goofy mohawk really threw it off for me and probably a lot of people, but it didn't have that same aura. The aura was there when you saw the smoke in the octagon, and then you hear Bruce Buffer say, "The one, the only." That's when I was like, all right, let's go. Like, Conor's back. That's when I felt it. But before that, I was like, nah. He looks old, man. You know what I mean? He looks a little nervous, and maybe that's because he knew he was injured going into this fight. Like I said, I made a whole video about it. But I think, you know, obviously there's videos coming out and speculations of him in the back room throwing that switch kick, and he threw it, and then he came down and he started to do the right high kick. And I think in doing that right high kick, he probably injured his ligaments more. But I think he was doing that right high kick in the warm-ups to really see if that leg was good to go. And it probably felt good, and he gets out there. But he probably knew something was a little off after his walkout, and he gets into the octagon. And he still throws that switch kick. I guess maybe just to see, like, okay, can I do this? Lands, obviously blows out his knee. I did see somewhere that it's not an ACL tear. I don't know if that's confirmed by the time this video comes out, but I mean, 5 years down the journey. Crazy, man. This sport is so unforgiving, and I was really talking to my mom about it. Like, this sport is so unforgiving, man. You put hours and months and so much time and dedication into, like, an intense training camp just for something to happen like that. And if you're Max Holloway, I mean, how much money did he probably get? Like $5 million, you know, something like that. How much easier does it get? It's really just a paycheck. And you see Max Holloway saying, let's run it back. And I think a part of him being the dog that he is generally actually wants to run back, because I think he actually wants to legitimately beat Conor McGregor. But the other part of him, like, knows that, okay, this guy, like, it wasn't going to be me anyway. I just want another easy paycheck. And can you blame him? I mean, I would do the same shit. But if you're Max Holloway, I mean, this almost hurts his legacy a little bit, because he's lost to Charles, didn't beat Conor. Now does he wait for Conor to fight again? Or who does he fight? Now he's at welterweight, he has to cut weight again. Like, weird position for Max. And it's funny because Dana White literally said, like, I have 4 scenarios for Conor if he wins, and then I have 4 scenarios for Max if he wins. And it's like, now what could the possible scenario have been for this? There was no possible. And Dana White in his press conference was, like, angry, because it's like, now what does the UFC do? Conor has 1 more fight left in his contract, but who's, like, I'm gonna be excited for it, but not really. Like, it might not be for another year, another 2 years. And by that, you know, the UFC moves on so fast. And obviously Conor McGregor is still the biggest star in the sport, you know, when he is fighting. And a Conor McGregor card is always going to be electric and have some energy to it. But who's, like, really, truly excited anymore to see him fight? It'll be his last fight. It'll be his, you know, his walkaway, his retirement fight, which would be sad. But at the same time, like, who does he fight? Michael Chandler? Do we want to see Conor McGregor beat up on Michael Chandler for his last fight? Like, yeah, but not really. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not going to have the same energy, man. I mean, I was gonna say this fight. I mean, this fight, it was such a letdown, man. It was sad, man, and it sucks that they got Conor's legs this red, but that's the way the sport goes, man. And if you're Max Holloway, man, I hope he can, I guess, build on this. I mean, technically he won, but I'm sure in his mind, like, yeah, he just won easy money, but like I'm sure he wanted to pick up a win, add Conor McGregor, and get his look back to his resume, but he wasn't able to really do that, man. So, guys, that is my recap video, guys. Please check out my Insta breakdown to this fight because I talked a lot more in depth. I gave my initial emotional reaction to that, and I'm going to be making a Corey Sandhagen video right after this because he's my favorite fighter, and I'm just so excited about that. But listen, you guys are awesome. Like and subscribe. You guys are the best. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.